What happens when the most successful coach in NBA history suddenly disappears from the sidelines? Not because of a defeat, but because of a life-threatening stroke. Greg Popovich isn't just a coach, he's an institution. The winningest coach in NBA history, the architect behind 5 championship banners in San Antonio, and a man whose quiet intensity and dry wit have shaped generations of players. But in late 2024, fans in the basketball world were shaken by sudden news Pop had suffered a stroke. Today, we're taking you on a journey through the early days of Pop's life, his legendary coaching career, and the health scare that shocked the NBA. And by the end, you'll see why his story isn't just about basketball. It's about legacy, leadership, and resilience. Nikola Popovich became the face of the San Antonio Spurs. He was just another kid from East Chicago, Indiana, a city more known for its steel mills than its basketball talent. Born in 1949, Greg Popovich didn't have the typical route to basketball stardom. His parents, who hailed from Serbia and Croatia, instilled in him the values of hard work and discipline. But it wasn't until he entered the U.S. Air Force Academy that Popovich's path toward greatness truly began to take shape. At the academy, Popovich didn't just play basketball, he thrived. As a guard, he helped lead the Air Force Falcons to success, earning the respect of his coaches and teammates alike. But beyond his athletic ability, it was the structure of military life that would leave the most lasting impression on him. The discipline, the attention to detail, and the unyielding focus on mission, these traits would define his coaching style years later. After graduating in 1970, Popovich served in the Air Force, spending 5 years in active duty. It was here that he learned to lead under pressure, to stay calm in the face of adversity, and to make difficult decisions. But basketball was never far from his mind. Popovich's time with the U.S. Armed Forces basketball team allowed him to travel, further honing his skills, both as a player and a leader. Popovich's time in the military might have been unexpected, but it provided him with the foundation that would propel him into coaching. His military training, paired with his love of the game, made him the ideal candidate to guide others to greatness. In 1973, Popovich returned to the court, this time as a coach. His first job was as an assistant coach at the Air Force Academy, where he would spend several years developing his craft. But Popovich wasn't content to stay in one place for too long. He wanted to learn from the best, so he took a leap of faith in 1988, joining the San Antonio Spurs as an assistant coach under Larry Brown. However, it was not long before he saw an opportunity to rise through the ranks. Popovich's ambition led him to leave the Spurs and join the Golden State Warriors as an assistant under Don Nelson, one of the NBA's most innovative minds. There, he learned the intricacies of running an offense, studying different systems and philosophies. But Popovich never lost sight of his ultimate goal, to become the head coach of an NBA team. In 1994, after a brief stint as general manager of the Spurs, Popovich was given the reins as head coach. At the time, the Spurs were struggling, but Popovich had a vision, and he was determined to see it through. He didn't just want to win games, he wanted to build a culture of excellence, a legacy of consistency, and a dynasty that would last. With the addition of Tim Duncan in 1997, Popovich's vision began to take shape. Duncan, the silent yet dominant force in the paint, was the perfect complement to Popovich's leadership. Alongside players like David Robinson, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili, Popovich created a team that was built on unselfishness, discipline, and an unrelenting focus on defense. Under his guidance, the Spurs would go on to win 5 NBA championships and dominate the league for nearly 2 decades. But what set Popovich apart wasn't just his ability to win titles, it was his approach to the game. He wasn't a coach who demanded results through fear or intimidation. Instead, he fostered a sense of trust and respect with his players. He believed in player development and leadership by example, often pushing his stars like Duncan to be better, both on and off the court. His coaching philosophy was built on the foundation of teamwork and trust, and it paid off time and time again. By the time the Spurs won their 5th title in 2014, Popovich was already being hailed as one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. His calm demeanor, strategic mind, and ability to adjust on the fly were unmatched.
Get the attention you deserve with a custom neon sign. We offer handmade neon signs. Our process is simple. Visit our website, glowneon.com, and click Custom Neon Builder for an on-demand experience. Start typing your custom text, Choose a font, color, and size. We will handle the rest by handcrafting your LED neon. We also produce high-quality neons to match your business logo by completing the form on our Business Neons page.
But even as he cemented his legacy, something deeper was at work, a drive to not just win, but to leave a lasting impact on the game itself. Then, in November 2024, everything changed. The unthinkable happened. Popovich, the seemingly indestructible coach, suffered a stroke. The news hit the NBA like a freight train. Fans who had watched him lead his teams through countless seasons of triumph and adversity suddenly found themselves wondering, would he ever return to the game? The San Antonio Spurs were quick to release a statement confirming that Popovich had suffered a mild stroke and would be taking time off to recover. While the news was a relief to some, indicating that Popovich was not in immediate danger, it still shook the very core of the NBA. For nearly 30 years, Popovich had been a fixture of the league, a steady hand guiding the Spurs through the highs and lows. Now, he was forced to step away. As Popovich's recovery began, it was clear that this would be no ordinary setback. This was more than just an injury, it was a test of character, a test of resilience. For a man who had built his entire career on the foundation of discipline and toughness, this was perhaps the greatest challenge of his life. What do you do when the coach who has conquered every challenge on the court faces his most personal one off the court? Popovich's stroke was more than just a medical emergency, it was a turning point in his life. For a man who had spent his entire career pushing through pain, suffering, and sacrifice, the idea of being sidelined by something outside of his control was something he could never have prepared for. As he began his recovery, the basketball world waited. Would he return? How long would it take? And what would the future of the Spurs look like without him? Popovich, however, wasn't one to make dramatic statements. Instead, he focused on his health and recovery, following a day-by-day approach that mirrored his coaching philosophy. He never made promises or rushed his healing. He simply took it one step at a time. In the meantime, assistant coach Mitch Johnson stepped into the spotlight, taking over as interim head coach, a role no one ever imagined would come under these circumstances. The Spurs continued their season, trying to stay focused on the game, but something fundamental had shifted. The sideline felt quieter. The intensity wasn't gone, but it had changed. Popovich's commanding presence, his sideline scowls, his perfectly timed timeouts, those moments were now missing. The Spurs were playing, yes, but they were playing without their heartbeat. Yet, even in absence, Popovich's fingerprints were everywhere. From the way the ball moved on offense to the unspoken camaraderie between players, the culture he'd built over decades refused to disappear. It wasn't just a system, it was a philosophy, one rooted in trust, humility, and relentless work ethic. His influence echoed through every huddle, every defensive rotation, every moment of sacrifice on the court. The man wasn't physically there, but his spirit still coached every game. Popovich's legacy, after all, has always been about far more than wins, championships, or Coach of the Year honors. It's in the values he instilled in his players, the unwavering belief in teamwork, the humility to share the spotlight, and the discipline to do things the right way, even when no one's watching. He didn't just build teams, he built men. He guided the growth of legends like Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili, shaping not only their careers but their characters. And through them, Popovich helped shape an entire era of basketball, one defined by grace, intelligence, and unselfishness. Even if Popovich never coaches another game, his legacy will endure. The Spurs' system of play, his commitment to developing young talent, and his unwavering belief in his players will continue to influence the game for generations to come. And for Popovich, the ultimate reward wasn't the titles or the recognition, it was the opportunity to leave the game better than he found it. So, as Popovich faces his toughest battle yet, we can only hope that the man who's given so much to the game will find his way back to the court. But even if he doesn't, his legacy is secured. Gregg Popovich's story is one of perseverance, leadership, and the enduring power of mentorship. He is, without a doubt, one of the greatest to ever coach in the NBA. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of Gregg Popovich, make sure to like this video and leave a comment with your favorite Popovich moment. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the world of basketball.